There have been so many plane crashes in the past year, and 7 in December alone. That should not be happening, but we're going to talk about why it is happening. First, the one that was shot down over Chechnya on Christmas Day is rumored to have been shot down by Russia. Everyone on board died, and this was a regular international flight with just regular people on it that was shot down. Saying the cause hasn't been proven, but it was shot down with military-grade weapons. Like, who is in that area shooting at the sky when there are planes going by? You know who it was. This is terrible for those families. I cannot imagine. Could you imagine on Christmas Day? But the rest of them were not shot down. It was all plane malfunctions, including the one in South Korea that killed 179 people. Only 2 people on board survived, and this was a couple days after Christmas. An Air Canada flight caught fire when landing in Nova Scotia. A plane in Norway skidded off the runway when it was trying to land due to hydraulic failure. And these are not things that should be happening twice a week, which is what happened in December. Twice a week, there were plane crashes. This is supposed to be a rare thing. Now, why is this happening? What is the common denominator? Well, every single one of those planes was made by Boeing. Boeing has been embroiled in controversy for the past 10 plus years because it has been a consistent thing that they have not been maintaining their planes properly. Boeing is the number 2 supplier for aircraft in the world, and that means that they supply aircraft for all airlines, except for Spirit, which is kind of ironic, but let's just not talk about Spirit right now. That means if you're flying on Air Jordanian, Air Canada, American Airlines, United, a lot of the ones overseas, you are most likely flying with Boeing. And obviously it's a problem as the sides of their planes get ripped off mid-flight. Like, these people were lucky they weren't sucked outside. They were holding on for dear life. But why aren't these planes being maintained properly? Well, it's because they want to expedite the amount of flights that are getting off the ground because that makes them more money. And staying with them on the ground and providing adequate maintenance is an expense that they just don't want to afford. And it leads to hundreds of families being affected with a loved one dying on Christmas Day. But do the CEOs care? Probably not, considering the fact they haven't done anything. And before you think I'm being too harsh with Boeing, let me ask you, do you know who this man is? This is John Barnett. He was the chief inspector for Boeing aircraft in South Carolina, and of course, those planes go all over the world. Noticed a lot of boxes were being checked that shouldn't be checked and had not been maintained, but the service and maintenance people were just allowing these planes to get off the ground without properly maintaining them. I was finding screws undone, and a lot of the equipment that was being used was not high quality at all. He consistently brought this to the higher-ups' attention in management of Boeing, and he was consistently shot down and told to shut up. There was a huge court case on the lack of maintenance to these Boeing aircraft. John was asked to testify on the stand in this court trial against Boeing with all of the information that he had, and he was a chief inspector. Obviously, he would know everything, and he had all the receipts to back it up. Yeah, he was found dead outside of his hotel. Like, he was literally going there to testify in this court case and was staying in a hotel room near the courthouse, and he was found dead in his car in the hotel parking lot. The coroner called it a self-inflicted thing. But do you believe that? He was on his way to court to testify against the second largest aircraft supplier in the world. He had all the receipts that they were consistently and repeatedly ignoring safety issues. Do you know how much money Boeing would have to pay out to the families if they were found guilty in court? They would likely go bankrupt. And of course, Boeing can't have that. This was the CEO of Boeing at that time. His name was Dave Calhoun. And yes, you're seeing this right. This is not his salary. This is just his bonus for the year, was $7 million. I don't know if there's anyone out there that can read energy in people's faces, but I definitely can. And I can tell this guy, sinister, horrible. I mean, even if you're not sensitive to that and you don't know that about yourself, just look at him. Just look at him. There's a new CEO now. His energy looks slightly better. However, Still he's working at Boeing. This still happened under his watch. And this happened under his watch. Hundreds of people are dead under his watch during the holiday season. And it's not just the airlines that have been down. There are a lot of malfunctions that happen and the planes land safely. But a lot of malfunctions have also been happening on these planes that aren't really making the news at the same rate, obviously, as a crash like that. By the way, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to comment and subscribe if you haven't already. These corporations are speaking loud and clear. They do not care about you. They do not care about your family. You are disposable and they get profit. This doesn't just affect the families, the 179 people who had families. It is a ripple effect across multiple families, friends, loved ones, people who work at the airport. The people left alive has serious trauma from witnessing this stuff and being a part of this stuff and working with these crashes and seeing the dead people. The dead people. It is like a war zone. Does he care? With his $7 million bonus? My God, how much is he getting paid salary-wise? And there are people other than John who are trying to speak out.
A new Boeing whistleblower is now saying that employees installed defective parts on planes in order to keep the production line moving. So let's talk about it, right? So the whistleblower in question is a man by the name of Sam Mohawk, who's worked in quality assurance at Boeing for 13 years, with him specifically working at a factory in Renton, Washington, where around 30% of all commercial airliners are made worldwide. And yes, that also means where the infamous Alaska airline jet that lost its door plug after takeoff was assembled. But with the news today, Mohawk just spoke out for the first time in an interview with 60 Minutes, where he said that he started noticing problems during the pandemic, or when Boeing was increasing production and coping with supply chain issues. And as a quality inspector, part of his job is to keep track of the defective airline parts that are separated out and then put into what's known as parts jail, where they're supposed to be under lock and key with a whole chain of evidence to make sure that they're not put back into any planes. But Mohawk, he says that because of the pressure to keep production moving, some factory workers went against protocol and just took parts out of parts jail when his team wasn't looking. When asked whether this was a continuous problem or a couple of bad parts being put on a jet, Mohawk responded, "I think it's happening repeatedly. We have thousands of missing parts." Also beyond that, he said it's not just the small parts that go missing, but rather major ones like rudders. I mean, we're talking about one of the key tools for literally steering a plane.
Yeah, Sam Mohawk is about to end up just like John. Quality control managers are bringing all of this up to Boeing's attention, and Boeing is ignoring them. A lot of us cannot not travel on flights. We are at risk every single time. John's family continues to attempt to speak out over his death, but, and this is very important to point out, they do not want to comment on whether they believe he died by suicide until the investigation by the Charleston Police Department concludes. No matter what they actually think, because you know they have their opinions and they have their minds set, but they're going to just agree with what the Charleston Police Department concludes. And that's because the Charleston Police Department will be the one responsible for the outcome. So if the parents say something like Boeing is responsible for this, Boeing would go after them. I mean, 1 + 1 = 2. So whatever the Charleston Police Department says, that's what they're going to tell the media they believe. But you know that they don't believe that. John's brother said he thought of himself as trying to do the right thing when he was showing up to this court appearance. And that's what bothered him, that no one would listen as to what was going on there. He wouldn't listen. And not only wouldn't he listen, but I mean, again, 1 + 1 = 2. I'm thinking he was trying to silence somebody. I mean, if you're making so much a year that your bonus alone is $7 million, you have all the means to make sure that certain people don't speak. And you're also probably very connected to a lot of powerful people. The good news is I do believe we are starting to enter a pivotal era for humanity. I think a lot of these people are going to be exposed. We are seeing a lot of CEO talk lately, and this is just one of many, but it's very pressing for the times that all these flights are crashing because of malfunctions, and the CEOs of that company are not being held accountable. But I do believe that we are entering an era where they will start to be held accountable. As always, let me know what you think in the comments, and if you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and hit that subscribe bell. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.